Let's do it.
Perfect. Let's do this. So thank you, Alex, and I'm hoping today to give you my 5 steps towards creating a great media outreach list. These 5 steps are steps that I've learned throughout my career now, and I want to share them with you to make sure that you guys and hopefully help you guys secure some great top-tier coverage links. So feel free to tweet me using the hashtag and my name at Shannon McGuirk if you have any questions after this session. But if not, we'll get stuck right in. So as a little bit of background then, I work at a company called Era with 2 industry veterans, Paddy Mugan and Matt Beswick, and we create a number of static and interactive infographics that we distribute and share across top-tier coverage. And these are some of the places that we've managed to secure some links in for our clients. So I'm going to give you a scenario to give a bit more context to these tips. I'm sure you guys have all been there. Dave and Lexi, I know, probably have as well. So your client wants top-tier link coverage, and the very same client wants to improve their SEO and brand awareness. So you've gone off with your team and you've made a shiny new piece of content and you think it's great. I mean, you'd link to it, right? I would link to mine. We've all been there. I know how it feels, but the problem is you're not an influencer, you're not a blogger, you're not a journalist. Well, you might be, but in this case, let's say you're not. So what's your next step going to be now that you've got this shiny piece of content? It's going to be to create a list of influencers from bloggers and journalists that you're hoping are going to cover that content and give you amazing quality backlinks to your client's website. Not only will that improve your brand awareness, but it's going to help with your SEO too. So this media list then, where do we start? A great media outreach list is going to give your content the best chance of success. If you put the hard work into your media outreach list, it hopefully means that your content will start to sell itself. And link coverage, well, that means a happy client, and a happy client normally means a happy boss, right? So how can you create a great media outreach list? Well, I want to start with a bottom-up approach and give you 5 steps that you can hopefully take forward and share with your teams. So number 1, it's a brilliant idea to start with defining your content. What is the one thing that your interactive piece of content shows, or your static infographic shows, or just your PR story? What is that one core point? And the tip here is to keep it to 1 sentence. So keep it minimal, keep it short and sweet, because it will help you understand what you're selling into the media, and also the media understand what you're giving them. So this is the one thing that your influencers are going to be interested in as well. This is the USP, if you like. And I thought the best way to kind of share this with you was to go over a piece of content that we created last year for a client. And Lexi, I know you're familiar with this one as well, because you helped a bit. But John Lewis is a huge brand, and every year they come out with a Christmas advert. And there's now what we call a Christmas advert arms race. So we decided to try and predict the storyline and the music of this year's advert. And there'd been a lot of music, unfortunate events in music. We'd lost David Bowie and Prince last year, so there was a lot of speculation around what the song may be. But what's the core point of this piece? What is the message, or the one thing that I'm trying to share with journalists here? Well, it's an analysis of the past 7 John Lewis Christmas adverts that's allowed us to predict the 2016 advert music. Now I can take this core point and not only share it with journalists, but I can break it down even further and pull out keywords that will help me target specific groups of journalists. So we've got analysis, we've got John Lewis, we've got Christmas, and we've got music. We can take these forward and see that there are a number of groups of journalists that we can target off the back of this. For example, we know Christmas is going to be a theme that lifestyle journalists are covering. News desk journalists will be looking to report on, as well as features. John Lewis, again, a huge brand in the UK, so we know that lifestyle, retail and consumer desks will be speaking and covering stories on the brand. Analysis infers lots of data, and there are data journalists out there that could be interested. It also means the analysis of the music, so we could go for music and entertainment writers. And analysis also lets us go and speak to the marketing and creative press, and kind of really show off our skills as an agency and share this fantastic piece of content that we created. And the final one then is advert. So again, this links into John Lewis, but it means that we can speak to the music, entertainment and TV press, as well as planning and content writers. So another rule here to remember when you're trying to pull apart this core point for your piece of content is to remember that your core point is always going to reveal your target journalist groups that you can then take forward and research to build your media list. So this leads us really nicely into my second step then, and that is to actually do your research. You shouldn't just rely on a database here. And if we go back to the John Lewis Christmas advert music formula, when I was creating the outreach list for this, I was racking my brains, and initially I thought, yeah, this will go for lifestyle and features desk, but there's so much more behind this that if you pull apart that core point, you know that you can speak to a number of other journalists and bloggers. And I came across this journalist in a fairly new role. I hadn't heard of a planning editor before, but her name was Emily Allen, and she's the planning editor at the Daily Telegraph. And if you look at the stuff that Emily's done and you do your research into her background, you can see that she covers everything from Mother's Day to Crufts, which is a huge dog show, New Year's Eve, Dry January, and Black Friday. So you can see that pretty much anything that consumers will be interested in, Emily is talking about, she's writing articles about. And there's a varied amount of content within these articles. You can see that from this slide here, there's a number of videos as well. So if we break Emily's profile down then, we know from the research, she's interested in trending content. That's research-led. We can tick that box as well because we analysed over 1,000 songs to get our final list of who could be singing the John Lewis Christmas advert song. We know that it's going to be consumer-focused and brand-led as well. She's not shy from brands. We can see she's written about Crufts there. So is Emily likely to cover the content? Well, yeah, everything is leading us to believe that actually she could be interested in this. And she was. We were really lucky that she did cover the content. And that was thanks to our hard work and research. But how do we go about conducting this research then? So I pulled together some quick buzzwords that you might be able to jot down here. But you can start with sites such as Majestic or BuzzSumo and plug in keywords like John Lewis in that instance to see what other content's out there. You can look at competitor coverage. You can do Google image searches. You can look for hashtags on Twitter, Google News searches, and also site searches to see if other content marketers and PRs have come up with some content before. Research results will throw out something like this, as I've already discussed. I found Emily via Twitter, but also when you're looking on things like Twitter, you can see Kevin the Carrot popped up. So actually there's a little bit of speculation, and a number of journalists were actually liked this Kevin the Carrot, the tweet. So I was able to jot their names down and then put it into the media outreach list later down the line. But from my article research, which was a Google News search, I could see who was writing about brands at Christmas. So if we take a quick scan there, we can see the Express was covered John Lewis, and also the Telegraph covered John Lewis. So that's a clear way in, and that's a starter for 10. I can take the names of those journalists and pop them directly into my media outreach list. So another rule here for you guys, or a key take home, is that actually you shouldn't rely on the media database alone, whether that's Vulcana or Vulio or Hey Press, but research is key here to making sure that you find a journalist that's really interested and potentially will cover your content or your story. So my third point then is getting down to the nitty gritty. It's all about the media list creation now. So there's a number of tools out there that you can use. Some are free, some are paid for. Vulcana is a paid for service along for Vulio, but I rely personally on Journalisted as well. Journalisted is a great tool because you can plug journalist names into it and it will bring up a number of articles that they've written in the last 12 months. So you can see the kinds of things they're writing about and see if your content's relevant, which is really handy. So you can take these tools here and your research results, which I've already discussed, and pop them into an outreach list. And mine looks something like this. So I try and keep mine as tidy as possible because you can end up speaking to hundreds of people when you're outreaching content. And they're always color coded. So I've got, up here you can see I've got a pink for the first point of contact at any one publication. I've then got green, means that I've got my coverage and my link secured. Warm leads are yellow. Red there is a decline, and I've also got a lilac there for a retarget. So my rule here is that you need to combine your research and your media database insight together to get this really, really comprehensive outreach list that's going to then give your content the best chance of success when you go and speak to these influencers. Number 4 then, so pitch perfect. We're getting down into it now. We're about to go and speak to some journalists and some vloggers. So a long time ago, pitching used to look like this. Rumor has it that people used to send out things via letter and fax and on hard floppy disks. But now it's changed a lot, and there are a number of channels that you can use as a content marketer or a digital PR to ensure that journalists are aware of your content and that you can sell it in the right way. I use a number of channels. My first port of call is always email. I went to a conference in 2015 called Future Comms, and a journalist that was on a speaker panel there from the Daily Mirror said that they receive up to, I think it was 500 emails a day. And on top of that, they get an X amount of phone calls as well. And actually the best way to get hold of them was via email, because they can reply in their own time if they're interested. Another channel then is social media. Don't be afraid to use your own Twitter and even LinkedIn in some cases, accounts to share your content with influencers and get them to notice your name. Sometimes, for example, with Emily there, I dropped her a direct message and said, "Hi Emily, I've got some great content that I think might be of interest to you. I'm going to send it over via email. Is this the best email to use?" She's then aware of my name and the fact that I might have a story for her. So when I send her the email and my name pops up into her inbox, hopefully she recognises it and is likely to open the email and be interested in what I've got to say. And phone as well. So as I said, journalists get a lot of phone calls, but actually if you want to speak to a news desk and you have a story that's relevant to news desk, don't be afraid of picking up the phone. And also when you're speaking to journalists off the phone, grab their name, try and grab a personal email rather than going for news at Daily Mail, for example. It means that when you do your follow-ups and you call back, you can pick up the phone again and ask to speak to that person directly to get feedback on your story or your piece of content. They're the 3 channels that I use and rely on mostly. But actually, which one is right for you? Well, that's going back to your research. So you need to use a channel that suits your influencer. For example, a blogger, they're not going to want you to call them. A journalist might prefer email, and also you might get another journalist that prefers social media pitching. So if you can see that a journalist is really active on social media, actually I'd recommend that you reach out to them first before sending an email. But if you have a journalist or a blogger that's really quiet on social media, perhaps it's best to send them an email with a killer subject line. But what else can you offer? What else can you do? What else is out there? Well, when you're doing your pitches, personalisation is key. You should never, and I would never recommend sending mail merges or blanket emails because they're so unpersonal, and you can tell a mile off that you've received a mail merge. So this is an example of one of my pitch emails that I sent out earlier in this year, and you can see that I have highlighted 4 key parts here that help the journalist recognise that I put a personal touch on my email. So I've addressed it directly to him. "Hi Adam," rather than "good morning," "good afternoon," or "hi there." I found an article as well that links to my content or brand. He's covered my brand before, so I've let him know that I've seen his article with "I saw you recently covered VoucherCloud Spreader Index." And then moving down this email a little bit further, I've put his name again, just to reassure him again that this isn't a mail merge and that I've spent some time crafting this pitch email. And I've also dropped in right at the close there, the Telegraph, which is the name of the publication that Adam works at. So these 4 things here are pointers for Adam, that he knows that I've spent some time researching, seeing if he would be interested in my content or my story, and letting him know that I care about what I'm pitching in as well. The length of your pitch emails is also really, really important. So a client of mine was really struggling with a piece of content that they created in-house. And I couldn't personally understand why, because the story was great. There was some really nice data. They profiled Airbnb prices, across Europe, and came up with a really nice visual as well. It was interactive. It was really cool. But I couldn't realize why or understand why he was struggling to get coverage until I saw their pitch email. So this here is a one snapshot of the pitch email, but it then was followed by this, and it also included this. So this is an incredibly long pitch email. And if I was a journalist who was on a deadline or was struggling for time or needed to get to the core point of my content quickly, you can see it's clearly lost. And I would shut off from this. So what we did is I reduced it to this, really, really reduced down in a condensed version that got the core point of the message, and the core point of my content over really quickly and clearly. And we were lucky enough to help them to secure some good links off the back of it. So is there a best day or a best time for pitching? And I would say yes. Our best success rates here at Era are normally secured on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Mondays, I always really find that journalists are really rushed, especially on a Monday morning. They're quite impatient. They don't have that much time to speak to you because they've got an influx of emails from the weekend. They've got a number of editorial meetings coming up. So if I can recommend days, it would be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and the best time would be between 8 and 4. So in the traditional side of PR, there is a rumour that the earlier you get your pitch email in, the more likely you're going to be to get the coverage secured. But I don't believe that's the case. You know, we work in a world of flexi time now. Sometimes journalists aren't getting to their desks until 9 o'clock. But I wouldn't pitch too late in the day either, because you want the journalist to have enough time to write your story up. And also the next day they're going to get another influx. So you don't want your content or your story to be old, or for them to see that it's old. You also need to have a good think about your subject line. It shouldn't be too long. I wouldn't include a brand mention in it, but you might perhaps include a question or something intriguing like a stat to encourage them to open the email and give your content the best chance of success. So my rule here then, if you can take anything away from this section, it will be use the right platform or channel at the right time, whether it's email, whether it's pitching via Twitter. It doesn't really matter. Use your research and find what's going to be best for your influencer and go for it. Be confident with it. So my final step here is on relationship building, and it's a key part really of my job and any PR's job really, because the better the relationships are that you build with your clients' target media, the easier it is in a way to secure coverage with them, because they can give you feedback on any pieces, and you get to know them better and get to know what the journalist likes or wants. A couple of kind of golden rules here that I would always abide by is that in order to build good relationships, you should always deliver on your deadlines. If a journalist gives you a deadline, they're normally working to a strict one themselves. So if you can, try and get comments or embed codes or test links over at the earliest opportunity. Give them what they want. If they need something else to make or write their story, such as a comment from a spokesperson, then do your best to get that for them, because it means that not only you're building a good relationship with them and they can, you know, they can trust you, it means that you've got a better chance of securing coverage and a nice, great quality link back to your client's website or content. As I said, try and give them when they want it, try and meet those deadlines. And following up is key as well. So when you start your outreach, especially if it's via email or even on the telephone, don't ever leave it too long in between sending that initial outreach email or phone call, and then trying to get back in touch with a journalist to see if they're interested in it or to get some, you know, important feedback. It will mean that your next piece of content could be better, stronger, and therefore you have a better rate of success for your clients. Also say thank you, and this is something that I think kind of could get forgotten quite easily, but whenever a journalist or an influencer covers a piece of content or a story or a comment, whatever it may be, and it goes live on a news site or a blog, I always drop them a note and say thank you so much for doing that. It's nice to be nice. It's kind of a good thing to do, because a little really does go a long way, and all adds to building these great relationships with influencers. So in summary then, these 5 points, if you go home or go away with anything today, here's my pitch perfect 101. It will be to define your content, that core point that I was talking about earlier. Do your research, find journalists or influencers that are genuinely going to be interested in your story or your content. Don't rely just on media databases. Always go above and beyond, you know, incorporate the stuff that you found from your research into your media list as well to make it as strong as possible. Use a variety of channels to pitch, from email, phone call to social media. Whatever works, go for it and be confident while you're pitching. And strive to build those relationships as well. Do what you can to meet deadlines, to offer extra, and to go above and beyond, because actually the journalist will remember you for it and will thank you for it. And you've got a better chance of success for future content pieces as well. And ultimately, if you can take these 5 points forward and put the hard work into creating a great media list, then I really do believe the content can start to sell itself, because you know that everyone in that media list is going to be interested in the story or the content that you've got. And that's it from me.